There are hundreds and thousands of lakes in the United States. Out of them, you can find some massive lakes as well. Let's take a quick look at the biggest lakes that you can discover in the United States as of now. Any person who has an obsession with large lakes can think about visiting any of these lakes in the country. 1. Lake Superior, largest lake in the USA. Lake Superior, the largest, deepest, coldest, cleanest, least developed, and most pristine of the Great Lakes, is the world's largest freshwater lake by surface area, spanning state and nation boundaries. This 31,820 square miles behemoth is the fourth largest in terms of volume, with 2,900 cubic miles, 9,799,680,000 acre-feet, or 400,000 gallons of water for every person on the planet. Today, these vast swaths of land are home to national parks, water sports, and a plethora of other activities. Lake Superior is known by various names, including Gishigami, which means large water in the Ojibwe language. The huge lake is alluded to as Gitchigumi in both Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's The Song of Hiawatha and Gordon Lightfoot's The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Finally, in the 17th century, French explorers named the lake Le Lac Supérieur, or Upper Lake, from whence the English Lake Superior was derived. Despite not being an inland sea, the lake is massive. Its surface area of 20,288,000 acres is greater than South Carolina, and it spans for more than 350 miles in length and 160 miles in breadth. Waves on Lake Superior may often surpass 30 feet, and the lake's lowest point, 1,333 feet deep, is also the lowest point on the North American continent, at 733 feet below sea level. The lake has 2,726 miles of shoreline to explore, and if the lake's drain lock were to be uncorked, it would flood both North and South America, submerging the continents under a foot of water. Lake Superior is a very magnificent piece of water. Gates on the St. Mary's River at Sault Ste. Marie manage water levels on Lake Superior for hydroelectric power generation. The International Joint Commission manages the lake's water levels through the Board of Controls. Following the retreat of the previous Ice Age's frozen glaciers, the Plano first settled on the lake 10,000 years ago. The Shield Archaic peoples arrived around 5,000 years later, leaving traces of their bows, arrows, boats, and fishing equipment all throughout the region. The Ojibwe and Cree, the lake's most recent indigenous occupants, are thought to be direct descendants of these early people. By the 1700s, however, European influence surrounding Lake Superior had grown significantly, owing in part to the burgeoning fur trade. What were once ancient mining and maritime communities are now modern shipping ports with a new industry, tourism. Greater than read, biggest lakes in Texas, top 20 greater than. Greater than. Greater than. Greater than learn about the largest natural lake in Texas. 2. Lake Huron, one of the 5 Great Lakes of North America. Lake Huron is the second biggest of the 5 Great Lakes in terms of surface area, with a surface area of 23,010 square miles and a 3,825-mile shoreline. The huge lake, which has 850 cubic miles of fresh water inside its basin, is the third biggest of the Great Lakes in terms of water volume. With such vast lengths of water, as well as the lake's rocky rip-rap shoreline and sandy beaches, Lake Huron has become a popular destination for tourists, part-time residents, and full-time inhabitants who enjoy the sun and water fun that this great lake offers. Lake Huron was inhabited by Native Americans, especially the Algonquin and Iroquois, who had been competitors for generations before European arrival. After failing to find any of the other Great Lakes, French explorers dubbed it La Mer Douce, or the Freshwater Sea, when they landed on the lake's shores in 1612. On early maps, the lake was frequently referred to as Lac des Hurons, or Lake of the Huron Indians. By 1615, the French had formed bonds with the lake's Native American tribes and had acquired some of their habits and trades, accumulating money via wood, fishing, mining, and fur production. Naturally, these businesses and the quest of money led to the French and Indian War, which ravaged the region for 7 years. Today, the lake has recovered from past abuses and is teeming with wildlife, fish, and a plethora of other natural wonders. The beaches of Lake Huron appear to go on forever, which might be daunting at first. When planning your visit, think about what you want to do, where you want to travel, and how you want to organize your time. If you're coming from the Michigan side of the lake, start your journey on Michigan's Sunrise Coastal Highway, a 10-mile stretch of road that runs along the lake's coastline and has asphalt-paved pathways for bicyclists, skaters, and walkers. The trails begin in Rogers City and weave their way to the lake's edge, where they meet Lake Huron's soothing, lapping waters and smooth sandy beach. The street route eventually leads to Hof State Park, a lovely 300-acre wildlife refuge with its own trails that connect to the Huron Sunrise Trail, providing an excellent transition for further hiking and bicycling. Greater than read, biggest lakes in Ohio, top 20 greater than. Greater than learn about the largest and deepest lake in Ohio. 3. Lake Michigan, second largest of the Great Lakes by volume. Lake Michigan is the pride and pleasure of Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan since it is the only Great Lake entirely inside the United States borders. The lake spans 22,400 square miles, making it the world's biggest freshwater lake, by surface area, enclosed within a single nation. Lake Michigan is roughly 307 miles long and 118 miles broad, with 1,640 miles of shoreline. More than 80 lighthouses may be found along the coast and on major islands. Lake Michigan, on the other hand, is more than a lake of superlatives. It is a freshwater paradise that is home to 12 million people and attracts thousands of visitors each year. Lake Michigan and Lake Huron are linked by the 5-mile-wide Straits of Mackinac, which are both 577 feet above sea level. In terms of hydrology, this unites the two lakes, which some refer to as Lake Michigan-Huron. Lake Michigan and Lake Huron are treated separately by lake lovers, however, the combined surface area and volume are considered points of interest by lake lovers. Many towns and cities line the beaches of Lake Michigan, but you're probably best familiar with Chicago, Illinois, East Chicago, Indiana, and Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Many Lake Michigan beaches may be found in these towns and their surrounding areas, especially those in Michigan and northern Indiana are known for their remarkable beauty. In fact, the region is sometimes referred to as the United States Third Coast, as it rivals certain beaches on the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. These Midwestern beaches are an oasis in the heart of the country, with smooth, white sand that is said to sing as you walk through it. Greater than read, biggest lakes in California, top 20 greater than. Greater than learn about the largest natural lake in California. 4. Lake Erie, the 11th largest lake globally. Lake Erie, one of North America's Great Lakes, crosses the states of Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Michigan, and Ontario in Canada. The lake was named after a Native American tribe that lived along its shores before being exterminated by the Iroquois League for assisting their adversary, the Hurons. Lake Erie is the fourth biggest in surface area, the most southern reaching, the shallowest, and the smallest in volume among the Great Lakes. But don't be fooled, Lake Erie has a surface size of 9,940 square miles, 6,261,500 acres, spans 241 miles in length and 57 miles in width, has 871 miles of shoreline, and reaches a maximum depth of 210 feet. Lake Erie is the only Great Lake that freezes over on a regular basis, owing to its modest average depth of 62 feet. Lake Erie is known as the walleye capital of the world and is widely regarded as having some of the greatest walleye fishing in the world. The lake's modest depths provide a perfect environment for walleye and make it great for ice fishing. But don't worry if walleye isn't your thing. Yellow perch, steelhead, salmon, and smallmouth bass are also popular in the lake. Whether you go out on your own to fish the depths or hire one of the numerous fishing charters in the region, you'll have an interesting and gratifying fishing experience. Lake Erie is enormous, and with it comes a plethora of recreational opportunities. Swimming in the calm blue waters, boating, hiking, bird watching, seeing the natural flora and wildlife, playing on a sandy beach, water skiing, dining lakeside, and a variety of other activities are all available. Depending on your own preferences, the possibilities are nearly limitless. Greater than read, biggest lakes in New York, top 20 greater than. Greater than learn about the largest clear clean water lake in New York. 5. Lake Ontario is one of the 5 Great Lakes of North America. The deep, bright, and pristine waters of Lake Ontario, one of the world's 5 Great Lakes, meander over state and nation lines, captivating Americans, Canadians, and visiting visitors. The smallest of the huge lakes, with a whopping 4,700,000 acres, 7,340 square miles, Lake Ontario is the ideal monument to the enormous size and importance of these great glacial lakes. Lake Ontario, which has been home to many people throughout the years, is now surrounded by Toronto, Hamilton, and Rochester and serves as an aquatic playground for those who visit its shores. Lake Ontario gets its name from a Huron term that means big lake, as opposed to the Iroquois Scanadario. The Colossus has been called Lac Ontario or des Iroquois, Ondiera, and Lac Frontenac in addition to its Native American titles. The vast reservoir's rich history, which began with the Iroquois and Huron nations, is reflected in the wide range of names it has received. The first contemporary European to see the lake was Étienne Brule, who came in 1615, however relics show that he was beaten by the Norse, who arrived much earlier. Lake Ontario is remembered today for its contributions to modern history, including the French and Indian War, the American Revolution, and the War of 1812. The Niagara River carries around 80% of the water that flows into Lake Ontario from its western neighbor, Lake Erie. The rest comes from streams of Lake Ontario and precipitation. Over 90% of Lake Ontario's water goes to the St. Lawrence River, with the remainder evaporating and dropping as massive winter snowfalls in northern New York State. Issues pertaining to any of the Great Lakes system's lakes are of considerable importance both here and as far upstream as Lake Superior, as the last of the downstream Great Lakes. The water level of Lake Ontario is controlled by a dam at Kingston, Ontario, for hydroelectric power generation. The International Joint Commission manages the lake's water levels through the Board of Controls. Greater than read, biggest lakes in Pennsylvania, top 20 greater than. Greater than learn about the shallowest lake in Pennsylvania. 6. Great Salt Lake, the largest saltwater lake in the Western Hemisphere. The Great Salt Lake, sometimes known as America's Dead Sea, covers roughly 1,700 square miles of Utah land. It is the second biggest lake entirely enclosed inside the United States, by surface area. Only Lake Michigan is bigger. The Great Salt Lake has the longest lake coastline in the United States, spanning roughly 10,000 miles. The biggest relic of the ancient Lake Bonneville, Great Salt Lake has a salinity significantly greater, saltier, than ocean water. Despite its moniker, the lake is home to a diverse range of vegetation, wildlife, and water life, as well as a large number of tourists each year. The Great Salt Lake's water levels fluctuate depending on rainfall and evaporation rates, reaching a peak of 45 feet in 1987 and a low of 24 feet in 1963. The number of islands dotting the lake varies depending on the water level. According to the Utah Geological Survey, there are 11 islands in the lake, with 7 in the south and 4 in the north. The Gunnison Island State Wildlife Management Area encompasses the whole island. Because the island is an important rookery for the American white pelican, public access is banned. Antelope Island State Park is located on the biggest of the islands and is accessible through a causeway. Antelope Island is home to pronghorn antelope, bighorn sheep, American bison, and waterfowl. Greater than read, biggest lakes in Illinois, top 20 greater than. Greater than learn about the largest body of water wholly contained within Illinois. 7. Lake of the Woods, the 6th largest freshwater lake located in the United States. Lake of the Woods is a massive body of water that stretches from Minnesota into the Canadian provinces of Ontario and Manitoba, measuring over 68 miles long and 59 miles broad with 25,000 miles of coastline, the world's longest lake shoreline. The western half of the lake is largely open water, but the eastern half is studded with about 14,500 islands where bears, moose, bald eagles, and other species may be found. With its mind-boggling number of islands, the shoreline of Lake of the Woods stretches over 65,000 kilometers. Minnesota owns about a third of the lake's 950,400 acres. Because of landmark treaties going back to 1783 when Great Britain acknowledged American freedom, part of Minnesota's land portion of Lake of the Woods, known as the Northwest Angle, is isolated from the rest of the United States. The Northwest Angle is the contiguous United States' northernmost territory. It is accessible by boat from Minnesota or by crossing Canadian territory. Following treaties defining the U.S.-Canada border, the Northwest Angle remained in Minnesota. Because the Lake of the Woods is so big, it's important to choose a section and adhere to it. However, everyone wins here, as the lake provides a variety of outdoor activities for nature lovers. Start your vacation with a stroll along one of the lake's nature trails. The coastline is lined with winding routes, difficult terrain, and manicured trails that will give you with amazing views and stunning panoramas. Greater than read, biggest lakes in Florida, top 20 greater than. Greater than learn about the deepest lake in Florida. 8. Iliamna Lake, the second largest finger lake. Iliamna Lake, commonly known as Lake Iliamna, is Alaska's biggest lake and the world's second largest freshwater lake entirely enclosed inside the United States, after Lake Michigan. This glacial lake in southwest Alaska is known as an inland sea, with a length of 80 miles, a width of 25 miles, and a surface area of roughly 640,000 acres. Iliamna Lake is bordered to the north by Lake Clark National Park and Preserve, to the south by Katmai National Park and Preserve, and to the east by Cook Inlet, Gulf of Alaska. Porcupine, Flat, Triangle, and Seal Islands are among the deserted islands that dot the lake's surface. The Tanina Indians named the lake Iliamna because they believed it was home to a huge blackfish that could bite holes in boats. Other monsters rumored to reside in Iliamna Lake, known as lilies, resemble 30-foot-long gigantic fish. When pilots began seeing monsters from the air in the 1940s, Iliamna's creatures became more well-known. In contrast to these mythological animals, the lake is known for its resident colony of freshwater seals, which is one of only 2 freshwater seal colonies in the world. Greater than read, biggest lakes in North America, top 20 greater than. Greater than learn about the Lake Michigan, the second largest of the Great Lakes by volume. 9. Lake O, the 4th largest reservoir in the U.S. The name Lake O comes from an O Indian mission and means base or place to stand on. Lake O is the nation's biggest man-made reservoir in surface acreage and 4th in volume, stretching 231 miles from Pierre, South Dakota, to Bismarck, North Dakota, and boasting a 2,250-mile coastline. Lake O, which is located north of Pierre on South Dakota Highway 1804, is steeped in Native American heritage. Lake O, which was originally built for hydroelectric power generation, flood management, downstream navigation, irrigation, public water supply, and fish and wildlife preservation, is today a haven for outdoor enthusiasts with 50 recreational sites. Lake O was formed by damming the Missouri River as part of a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers operation. Construction began in 1948, as authorized by the Flood Control Act of 1944. President John F. Kennedy dedicated the dam and lake on August 17, 1962. Lake O is the world's 14th biggest man-made reservoir by volume, with a storage capacity of 23.5 million acre-feet. The length of O Dam is 9,300 feet, with a maximum height of 245 feet. The 2,250 kilometers of shoreline of Lake O are mainly undeveloped, except from recreational areas. Visitors will see a mixed grass prairie with trees growing down to the water's edge. On the western side of the lake, the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation in South Dakota, and the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in both North and South Dakota are both major Native American reservations. If you want to go big game hunting, the Cheyenne River Sioux Reservation offers 3 wildlife areas designated aside for elk and buffalo. Every year, the Cheyenne River Sioux Game, Fish, and Parks Department offers hunts. 10. Lake Okeechobee, 8th largest natural freshwater lake in the U.S. Lake Okeechobee is a lake with numerous names, having approximately 451,000 blue, aquatic acres. It is the largest lake in Florida in terms of surface area. It is also the 4th largest lake entirely enclosed inside the United States of America. Lake Okeechobee, commonly known as Florida's Inland Sea, Lake O, and the Big Lake, has an average depth of only 9 feet. The name Lake Okeechobee comes from the Hetchiti words for water, oki, and large, chubby, therefore the lake's original name was Big Water. The Okie-Echo Waterway, which stretches from the Gulf of Mexico to the Atlantic Ocean, includes Lake Okeechobee. From Fort Myers to Lake Okeechobee, the waterway follows the Caloosahatchee River, then continues east via the St. Lucie Canal to Stewart. Navigation, year-round recreational amenities, potable water, agricultural irrigation, and flood control are all benefits of the Okeechobee Waterway. The Central and Southern Florida Flood Control Project includes the waterway. 11. Lake Pontchartrain, the lake that is oval in shape. Lake Pontchartrain isn't officially a lake. It's known as an estuary in scientific circles. That's just a fancy way of saying it's a coastal body of water with an open connection to the sea or is connected to the sea in some way. Although Lake Pontchartrain is surrounded by land, it is connected to the Gulf of Mexico by a marsh on one side. It is classified as a salt lake, however salinity levels along the lake's northern boundary hardly register where rivers pour into the lake. As one moves towards the Gulf, the salt levels rise, the maximum values are roughly half those of seawater in the Gulf. There are daily tide variations because it is connected to the Gulf. Lake Maurepas, a neighboring freshwater lake, is connected to the west shore of Lake Pontchartrain through Pass Manchac. In addition, the Mississippi River enters the lake through New Orleans Industrial Canal. Aside from the Ole Miss, the lake receives fresh water from 5 additional rivers and 2 bayous. Chifunct, Tikfaw, Amite, Bogthalia, and Tangipahoa are the rivers, and Chinchuba and Lacombe are the bayous. After Hurricane Betsy wreaked havoc on New Orleans, The Flood Control Act of 1965 allowed the building of the Lake Pontchartrain and Vicinity Hurricane Protection Project. The levees that we see today were developed and built by the Army Corps of Engineers. The parishes of Jefferson, St. Charles, Orleans, and St. Bernard are responsible for the maintenance and flood management of their respective parts of the barrier system. The heights of the levees were determined by the geography of the surrounding region when they were erected. The height ranged from 9.3 to 13.5 feet. 12. Lake Sacagawea, the second largest lake in the United States by area. The second largest reservoir by surface acreage in the United States, and third largest in volume, Lake Sacagawea spans 178 miles from Garrison Dam northwest to Williston, North Dakota, and has a surface area of roughly 382,000 acres. Lake Sacagawea is 2 to 3 miles wide on average and 6 miles wide at its widest point. The gently rolling prairie and 1,300 miles of shoreline, located 75 miles north of Bismarck, North Dakota, offer a diverse range of activities for visitors. Camping, boating, fishing, sailing, nature watching, hunting, and ice fishing are examples of recreational activities. The Missouri River was dammed to create Lake Sacagawea. Garrison Dam was built in 1947 after being authorized by the Flood Control Act of 1944, also known as the Pick-Sloan Plan. Garrison Dam, which extends 2,050 feet wide at the base and tapers out to 60 feet wide at the top, was completed in 1954 and is presently the world's sixth biggest earthen dam. Garrison Dam provides a variety of public benefits, including fish and wildlife preservation, flood control, navigation, irrigation, and recreation, in addition to hydropower generation. Visitors can take a tour of the power plant, which also features exhibits on the construction and operation of the Garrison Dam. 13. Lake Champlain, natural freshwater lake in North America. Lake Champlain is a natural freshwater lake that straddles the states of New York and Vermont in the United States and Quebec in Canada. It is 96 feet above sea level. President Bill Clinton recognized Lake Champlain as a Great Lake in 1998, and it reaches a maximum depth of 400 feet, encompasses 435 square miles, stretches more than 100 miles in length, and has a maximum width of 12 miles at its widest point. Lake Champlain has a total area of 271,000 acres and a coastline length of 587 miles. A total of 71 islands dot the lake, including a full Vermont county. Burlington, Vermont's Lake Champlain region is a year-round living and tourist destination that offers a wide range of recreational and residential opportunities. Burlington and the surrounding Champlain Lake Valley were named one of 4 outstanding getaway locations in the Northeast by USA Weekday magazine, number 1 place for families that love outdoor sports by Outdoor Explorer magazine, 6th best family-friendly place in the nation by Reader's Digest, and number 1 child-friendly city in America by Zero Population Growth. 14. Bechuroff Lake, 8th on list of largest lakes of the United States by volume. On the Alaskan Peninsula, Bechuroff Lake is the second biggest lake in the state. The lake is 35 miles long and 15 miles broad, with depths of up to 600 feet, and spans an astonishing 290,000 acres. Bechuroff Lake, located deep in the Alaskan tundra, provides an amazing environment for hunting, fishing, hiking, and animal observation. Bechuroff Lake, located in the Bechuroff National Wildlife Refuge, provides a picturesque and spectacular setting for activities such as fishing, hunting, hiking, and seeing Alaska's abundant wildlife. From jagged cliffs along the coast to sandy beaches, gently sloped tundra, and volcanic Mount Pulik on Bechuroff Lake's southern coastline, the wildlife reserve provides a diverse range of stunning landscapes. Only a boat, aircraft, or a hard trek along an unmarked path can access the 1.2 million acre wilderness. Before venturing into the wilderness, most guests take a commercial airplane from Anchorage to neighboring King Salmon Airport. Hunting for bear, caribou, and moose, as well as fishing, hiking, and camping, are all popular activities at the refuge. The refuge's beautiful scenery and diverse fauna make it an excellent spot for wilderness observation and photography. Congress has declared about 500,000 acres of the refuge as the Bechuroff Wilderness, ensuring that this region will be protected for future generations of nature enthusiasts to enjoy. 15. Lake St. Clair, it is part of the Great Lakes System. Heart-shaped, the Great Lakes System's smallest body of water is Lake St. Clair. The 275,200-acre Lake St. Clair is ideally positioned in Detroit, Michigan, and Windsor, Ontario, between Lake Huron to the north and Lake Erie to the south. The St. Clair River, which flows into Lake Huron from the north, feeds the lake. The Thames River, Sydenham River, and Clinton River are among the other inflows. The Detroit River transports water from Lake St. Clair to Lake Erie. To the dismay and objections of many who have established a strong affinity with this essential component of the Great Lakes system, Lake St. Clair has been denied formal Great Lake designation. Lake St. Clair, formed by prehistoric glacial action, originally served as a hunting and trading ground for Paleo-Indian cultures. The French Helm Griffin, the first European vessel to sail in the Upper Lakes, found the lake in August of 1679. There are two hypotheses on the origins of Lake St. Clair's name. First, it's said that the name comes from celebrating St. Clair of Assisi's feast day, with government authorities and mapmakers changing the spelling throughout time. Second, many think the name was derived from General Arthur St. Clair, the first governor of the Northwest Territory. Lake St. Clair has served as an essential waterway for generations of people throughout its colorful history, and it continues to do so today as a highly traveled portion of the Great Lakes waterway and a vital link in the St. Lawrence Seaway. 16. Red Lake, largest natural freshwater lake located entirely within Minnesota. Upper Red Lake, located in Minnesota's northwest region, has made a remarkable return and is once again becoming a popular vacation destination. Upper Red Lake lies near Waskish and is located on the border of the Big Bog. When combined with Lower Red Lake, Upper Red Lake is Minnesota's biggest freshwater lake. Upper Red Lake, on its own, is Minnesota's second biggest lake, with Mille Lacs Lake being the largest. The Narrows, a 3/4 mile wide canal that connects the two Red Lakes, has 288,000 acres of great fishing grounds. Upper Red Lake has a surface area of 120,000 acres, however only 48,000 acres are owned by the state of Minnesota and are open to the public. The Red Lake Band of Chippewa Indians owns the remaining acres, as well as the entirety of Lower Red Lake, and its waters are off-limits to anybody not enrolled in their band. In the early 1970s, the Red Lakes were well known for their outstanding walleye fishing. The walleye population, however, plummeted as a result of angling and gillnet fishing, and walleye sport fishing was banned in 1999. The restocking of walleye was a success in 2006, thanks to the efforts of both Native American and government authorities. Anglers may now enjoy walleye fishing in Upper Red Lake thanks to new harvesting rules. Crappie and northern pike fishing are also popular at Upper Red Lake. 17. Selawik Lake, it is 31 miles, 50 km, long. Selawik Lake is located in the northern region of Alaska, near the Arctic Circle. The lake is the third biggest in the state, with a surface area of 263,000 acres. The name Selawik Lake originates from an Inupiaq word that means place of shefish, and the lake and its tributaries are particularly noted for this species of fish. The lake is located around 7 kilometers from Selawik, Alaska. Because of its secluded position, Selawik's population of about 800 people continues to live much like their forefathers did, subsisting on the plentiful natural animals. Selawik Lake is surrounded by a terrain that is both lovely and frightening. Temperatures range from approximately -12 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter to around 58 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer. Selawik is bright 24 hours a day for most of June and July due to its location on the Arctic Circle, but just an hour and a half of sunshine each day during the month of December. Because of the difficult terrain surrounding Lake Selawik, residents still visit the region by boat during the summer and by dog sled during the winter. Visitors generally arrive by plane, taking commercial flights from Anchorage to Kotzebue, a neighboring city. Selawik has magnificent panoramas of unspoiled wilderness despite the severe environment. Mountains, tundra, marshes, grassy meadows, and woodlands may all be found in the Selawik National Wildlife Refuge, a 2.15 million acre wilderness region that borders Selawik Lake. 18. Fort Peck Lake, reaching into portions of 6 counties. Fort Peck Lake is Montana's largest lake and is located 20 miles southeast of Glasgow, Montana, on Montana Highway 24. It is the country's 5th largest man-made reservoir by volume. Fort Peck Lake is one of 6 Missouri River lakes named after an ancient trading station. Lake Sacagawea, Lake O, Lake Sharp, Lake Francis Case, and Lewis and Clark Lake are the other 5 lakes. Despite the fact that droughts can cause water levels to drop, Fort Peck Lake always offers a wide range of recreational opportunities, including camping, boating, fishing, hunting, and animal watching. Fort Peck Dam, the first dam erected in the Upper Missouri River, began construction in 1933 as a project of the United States Army Corps of Engineers. Franklin D. Roosevelt approved the Fort Peck project, which created over 10,000 employment during the Great Depression. In 1938, a huge slip halted construction on the dam. Fort Peck Dam is the biggest hydraulically filled dam in the United States, spanning 21,026 feet in length and 250 feet in height when completed in 1940. Fort Peck Lake, which was originally built to generate hydroelectric power, is now utilized for fish and wildlife, irrigation, navigation, public water supply, flood damage reduction, enhanced water quality, and recreation. 19. Salton Sea, a shallow, landlocked, highly saline body of water. The Salton Sea, sometimes known as Salton Lake, is a salty inland lake in Southern California, near the Mexican border. The construction of one of the world's greatest inland seas was an accident. In 1905, flooding of the Colorado River allowed water to pour over the canal barriers for almost 18 months, resulting in the formation of one of the world's largest inland seas. The Colorado River water filled into the Salton Trough instead of irrigating the below sea level Imperial Valley. The result is California's biggest lake, with an average surface size of 360 square miles and 110 miles of shoreline. The river flows were eventually redirected back into Imperial Valley irrigation and the Gulf of California in 1907. There are no exits in the Salton Sea. In the arid heat, the initial pure water from the Colorado River evaporated rapidly. Agricultural runoff from the New, Alamo, and Whitewater rivers, transporting salt from the Colorado River, is the major source of inflow. The Salton Sea is 25% saltier than the Pacific Ocean today. 20. Rainy Lake, a freshwater lake with a surface area of 360 square miles. Rainy Lake is a vast 221,000-acre lake that straddles the U.S.-Canada border. Rainy Lake is located in the northeastern region of Minnesota, near International Falls and Rainier, and is known as a water sports lover's dream. Rainy Lake is home to 75% of Canada's part of this huge body of water, while the remaining 25% is in the United States. With so much water, it's no surprise that sports fans flock to this recreational paradise. Boating, canoeing, kayaking, camping, swimming, hiking, and fishing are all popular activities on and near the lake. Rainy Lake is a natural glacier-formed lake that has been dammed in both the United States and Canada. The Kettle Falls Dam was completed in 1914, while the Fort Frances International Falls Dam was built in 1909. Boise Cascade Corporation in the United States and Abitibi Consolidated Incorporated in Canada are in charge of each dam. These are the largest lakes that you can discover in the United States as of now. Visit any of these lakes, and you will be impressed with the size of it. Likewise, you can also discover numerous recreational activities to engage with.